What's go What's going on? What's going on, everybody? First rest rough first ru- excuse me. This is a rough first half for the Falcons at this point, but hey, we'll dive into it in a sec. Just hit that like and subscribe button, man. Let's go. BirdCage. Well, as we can see, we are down 17-7 right now. Missed field goal. Our offensive coordinator killing the momentum that the defense gave you before halftime with 2 minutes left, and you had timeouts in your pocket. Now, I'll say this: defense has been abysmal today. Abysmal. We don't even have to look at the numbers. I'm gonna bring them up anyway. But at this point, I want y'all to be honest with me, everybody that's in here tuning in. I just want y'all to be honest. Do you really think that AJ Terrell has been worth the money? Yeah, he had a pick last week, but you're seeing him against an elite receiver. This is what I want to see. I wanted to see him against an elite receiver. Now, the other issue with this defense today is Jimmy Lake. Piss poor calling. Piss poor calling. You're going to sit there and really call a cover three shell, and you putting AJ out there butt naked with one of the receivers that has dominated him since he's been in the league. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. This is what happens when you don't understand your personnel. I need Jerry Gray to go ahead and tell Jimmy, hey, this is what we need to do. Jerry, you got to step up and get in Jimmy's ear, because Jimmy's stubbornness is going to cost us this ball game. We still are in this ball game, folks. It ain't over with. A lot of time left in this ball game. But the way we're playing, the first quarter, we looked bad tackling. We didn't have great containment. It just was bad all the way around. You're letting Geno Smith look good today. Geno Smith has 181 yards passing with one touchdown, right to DK Metcalf, which you saw. DK is a guy that's going to run that seam route, big and fast. AJ's not going to be able to keep up with him. And then you got Jackson Smith and Jigba, with one attempt for 35 yards, them throwing a pass. So at the end of the day, our pass defense has been bad. We got a sack. But at the end of the day, it's like this. You've got to put this defense in position to capitalize off of their strengths. Here's the other thing. Run the ball. You apparently see that they can't stop us playing bully ball, period. Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, it's got to be that type of game today. Tough sledding. We have to cut out possessions for the Seahawks. We are allowing them to get off today. That's not good. That's not good. We get the ball back in the second half. You got to run the football. You got to play bully ball. You got to go back to what makes the Falcons the Falcons. Their defense can't stop our running game. You got to have a heavy dose of these two. I hate to say it, but we've got to take the ball out of Kirk's hands in this game. Kirk had a couple of good throws, yes, but at the same time, Kirk's not seeing the field. He hasn't been in sync with these wide receivers today. Yeah, Kyle Pitts, 5 receptions, 48 yards. Guess what? If we're going to throw the ball, you got to go through Kyle Pitts and Drake London today. You got to go through those guys. But in this game, it's a run game. You cannot put the ball in the air. It is a run game. And when you look at it as Falcon fans, we're not pleased with what's going on. Raheem Morris, we're in the top of the division, but guess what? That ain't enough. You got to win the division first, sir. We haven't won anything. Got a couple of ball games we won. Yes, this is a game where you have to show your coaching prowess, and you got to be aggressive in this game. You cannot let this team have a bounce back game against your team right now. Your team has a 3-game win streak. You cannot allow them to have a bounce back game. That is not acceptable. Not at this point. This team that we're playing against, we said this was going to be a tough game. The Seahawks are not going to go away, folks. You can't lose this game and lose momentum on the season. You just can't do it. All I'm saying is I got the stats up, but it is what it is. Young Way Cool, we've seen you hit field goals. We've seen you push stuff out here. This is a game that you can't point shave, sir. Yeah, I said it. I know I'm going to catch some hell for it, but it is what it is. You pretty much point shaved in this one, my brother. Right now, they should only be up 7 and not 14. It's just what it is. You've got to put us in a position to win this ball game. Whether anytime we get in this red zone, you have to garner points. You have to be able to matriculate the ball down the field. You have to be able to expound your offense. You have to literally get in Zach Robinson's ear and tell him, hey, you see this run is working. Guess what? You got to go ahead and make this thing work. I'm not going to do Lorenzo Carter slander today because we already know what the problem is. I'm not going to get on that. So if y'all want to sit here and complain about Lorenzo Carter today during the halftime report, that's something that we're not doing today. So y'all can save that for after the ball game because we already know what the issue is with Mr. Lorenzo Carter. Justin Simmons is leading the team in tackles today with 5 solos. Then you have Caden Ellis with 2 solos and 5 assists. D. Alford has 4. AJ Terrell has 3. We have to tackle better. We have to be able to get into a rhythm to where we can actually get Geno Smith to the ground. This is a problem. This is a serious problem. And until we get this resolved and absolved, it's not going to change. It is not going to change, ladies and gentlemen. This has to be one of these games where you're starting to look at Jimmy Lake and say, okay, you're going to either fix this or you got to go. I know this is his first year, but here's the thing. You inherited a defense that was a top 10 defense last year. There's no way in the world that this defense should be this abysmal today. No way in the world. You inherited a top 10 defense. What needs to happen in the second half? You're going to have to get out of your base 3-4. I'm sorry. You're going to have to get out of that 3-4. You're going to have to go into some of your sets where you have 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers. You have to realize Seattle is a traditional team. They're built like we are. I said this earlier this week that 3-4 defense is going to kill us. It's going to kill us because guess what? You have no push up front. You have no pressure coming from this. A 3-4 defense, you have to have somebody that's playing a 1 technique. That's a guy that has no ankles, a belly in a dump truck, and you just drop it right in front of that center, and you got to eat up 2 or 3 blocks and let your linebackers eat. We don't have the personnel for that. We don't have the personnel for that. You've got to adjust. You've got to start bringing pressure. We have sets where we have a 4-3. Switch to it. You've got to switch to it. Because at this point, if you don't switch to it, you're getting ready to give up more points in this ball game. You got to start designing plays to where AJ has help over the top. He's not going to be able to guard DK Metcalf one-on-one at all. At all. We don't have a push up front right now. The linebackers right now are out of sync. They're confused, and they're literally giving up the draws underneath. We can't do that. We need to be able to attack. We're pretty much on the defensive. We're not attacking. We need to have pressure. We have none. This is what's happening to us because we don't have a pass rush. Jimmy Lake, your ass is on the hot seat, sir. I'm saying it. It is what it is. I'm not afraid to say it. Your ass is on the hot seat. Until you figure out how to get pressure to come in, you're pretty much going to be questioned. Everybody wants to say, oh, well, let Raheem cook, let Raheem. Here's the thing, Raheem. Guess what? That's your hire. That is your hire. You're responsible. We're holding you accountable for this because guess what? This defense is going to get you beat eventually. Right now, we're winning games. We're finding ways to pull it out. But eventually, you're going to have to be able to stop somebody. And this is not good. You cannot put all this on the offense. This defense has to be able to stop these guys. We've gotten off the field a couple of times, but to no avail. It's got to be consistent. We've got to be better at containing. Judon can't do this by himself, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Terry, you better start looking at Max Crosby at this point. You got to start looking at pass rushes because Judon can't do it by himself. Judon's able to force the issue, but we've got to have somebody that's going to be able to clean it up. We got to have somebody that's going to be able to clean it up. Brandon Dorlus is not playing. You got to start playing the young guys. You got to start giving them an opportunity. Even before we start looking into bringing someone in, you've got to start trying to find something that's going to work. Somebody got to put the heat up under Jimmy Lake's ass right now. I'm sorry. Hey, you're going to quit. You're going to get out of your stubborn way. You see that this is not working. This is time to do this here. If you don't want to change this, guess what? We got a change that's going to be inevitable when we fire you and let Jerry Gray take over. My thing is this. I'm at the point like this. I'm about to start the Fire Jimmy Lake campaign. I don't normally do that in mid-season like that, but I'm about to start that because guess what? We have a great legendary defensive coordinator in-house with Jerry Gray, who understands the game. Jimmy, you might know how to talk your way through a meeting and interview well, but apparently it shows your football acumen is not there, sir. We're literally playing cornerbacks 5 to 10 yards off. You're giving them a cushion. You are giving them a cushion. You have to stop giving these wide receivers cushion. Seriously, you have to stop doing that. You've got to start putting your cornerbacks in a position where they're playing bump and run. You have to get them to get hands on these receivers. This has got to stop. This is awful. This is awful. You're giving them half of a first down every time you give them 5 yards. All they're going to do is run 5-yard slants or 5-yard bench routes to cut the deficit of the 10 yards in half. What I mean by that, ladies and gentlemen, you're giving them 5 yards every time you're playing off. You're literally giving them 5 yards. And every time they get those 5 yards, 5 yards adds to 10 yards. 10 yards gets to 20. The chains are moving. They're getting closer and closer to the red zone. So you have to be in a position to where you're being a lot smarter. Common sense ain't just so common no more. As my great-grandfather James Alfred Walker would say, rest in peace to Mr. Walker. Third grade education, one of the smartest men I ever graced with a, dropped out of school, did his thing or whatnot. And all I'm going to say is this. Sometimes you can't be the smartest guy in the room. Sometimes you got to let somebody else be the smartest person in the room to make you look good. That's what happens. When you're a CEO of a company or a coach of a team, Raheem Morris, guess what? You've got to allow the smartest man in the room, which is Jerry Gray on this defense, to let him say, hey, Jimmy, we need you to step up a little. We need you to step back a little bit. Let Jerry go ahead and help you with this. At this point, you're going to have to. Not only was Jerry a great player, he was a great coach when he was a defensive coordinator elsewhere. At this point, Raheem, look, we're happy you're here, but pretty soon you're going to have some heat on you because of your defense, sir. Your defense can't just give up the draws like that. I'm sorry. You got to stop. I know everybody loves AJ because he's a local kid and he's from around Atlanta. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't give a damn if he could be from Timbuktu. Homeboy got to go. We wasted money on him as a cornerback. Yeah, he had a pick against an inferior Carolina team last week. He's against an elite receiver in DK Metcalf, and he's getting cooked. Fundamentally, he's horrible today. He is horrible today. And the penalties that we're getting, I think the referees might have came over from University of Texas last night, and they got to get back at the Georgia team because the Dogs handled business last night. And these refs are literally horrible today. Geno Smith is getting away with being able to move out the pocket, and there's holding. I'm not one to complain about it, but it's hard to beat a team that's desperate on the bounce back, and you got to play against the refs. It's not easy. Some of these calls have to be changed, and there's a lot of things that need to be done differently. So in this second half, run the stinking ball. If you're not going to run the ball and we get in the red zone, find Kyle Pitts, find Draco, find Darnell Mooney. Start using these big receivers in the red zone as well as running the ball, because this has got to be a healthy dose of Bijan, and we've got to limit Bijan and Tyler Algier. We've got to limit Seattle's possessions, period. Because Seattle's figured out we can throw underneath, and then we're going to throw underneath. We're going to run here and there, and then we're going to hit you over the top with something cheap. So at the time, I'll say this. Don't play us cheap. Start changing that scheme. Get out of your own way. Start listening to the old man that's on the defense with you, Jimmy Lake, because at this point, I'm already vouching for you to get your ass fired. I'm sorry. It's time for you to go, because as Charles Barkley would say, this is terrible. Not terrible, terrible. Turrible. Terrible. That's what it is right now. This defense is much better than that. This defense carried us in the first 4 games. This defense has vanished, just like an EBT card up in Techwood Homes back in 1987. That's what it looks like. It's disappeared. And for my folks that's from Atlanta, you know about Techwood, and if the EBT card was there, it'd be gone. So again, it's time for you to figure this out in the second half. Zach Robinson, stop killing the momentum stop killing the momentum of this ball club. So let's get back to it. It's a lot of football left to be played. We can get this win if we decide to be disciplined and do what we need to do. And hey, I plan on having the party line today, but if we see anything like we saw in the first half, we might be going back to the benediction. And boy, we've been happy for the last couple of weeks. We're trying to keep this momentum going. So y'all stay safe. Enjoy the ball game. We'll see you at the party line or benediction post-game show. I'm the Historian. We out. Peace.